So welcome to the last episode where we are going to render and do some compositing on this guy. So first of all, congratulations on actually pushing through. This course is pretty intensive. So I'm proud of you for pushing through it. Okay, now what I would like you to do is, so if you weren't aware, if you hold Z, you can enter material mode, which is render with Eevee, with real-time stuff, kind of. Wireframe, which shows the wireframe, so it's really dense. And we have rendered, which is rendered. So by default, it's set on Eevee, and we are going to change it to cycles. Make sure it's powered by GPU. Like, I recommend to have a rather strong PC for this course. Like, if you didn't realize yet, if you have weak PC, it would probably crash alongside the course. GPU, turn off all the denoising stuff. Viewport samples, let's make it 200 and render also 200, so how many times it kind of computes the PC. Now in the view layer, turn on denoising data. And I think that's all we actually need to do in this site. Also, color management, set look to medium high contrast, which is kind of giving a bit more contrast. Okay, now we are going to assign different materials and adding some variations to this color, to these colors. So first of all, I would like to join all of the class. So Ctrl J. Let's call it class. Let's connect the teeth to the class as well. I would like to connect these jaw muscles, tongue, and gums into one. So Ctrl J. And everything else is gonna be separate. Alright, let's go to shading. And we should see this. This is set by default on material preview, which is alright. Let's create a new material. And let's assign it to every single part of the dinosaur. So material. Now let's add ambient occlusion, which is creating that smooth shadow effect, which is really nice. So if you plug it into base, you can already see it has created that shadow, fake shadow. So let's turn up samples, let's turn up distance. Now we are going to add color attribute, which is the attribute that we have actually colored the dinosaur with, have painted the colors with. So let's plug color into color, and bam, you already have it. The dinosaur is looking very wet. It's because of the roughness. So we are going to crank it almost to the top, to the maximal possible value. And now we are going to do some variation, because the gums and all that stuff inside of the mouth is gonna be all slimy. Let's click here to create a new material, but kind of like edited version of it. So material.001. Let's call it inside of mouth. Okay, maybe without spaces, with the underscores. And I would like to decrease the roughness around this amount. Let's create a new material for eyes. Let's decrease the roughness and increase the IOR, which is kind of giving that glassy look. And let's call it eyes. And at the end, let's change this and let's call it class teeth. And let's decrease the roughness just a little bit. Okay, so we are good on this. Now, let's... Oh yeah, so I forgot about the subsurface. So subsurface is that effect when when light passes through organic stuff. So yeah, it's this effect. So all living things have this. And let's just slightly increase it. And let's copy the value to all of the materials. Subsurface and the eye. Okay, and in order for it to work realistically, we need to make the scale correct. So let's spawn a cube. So by default, it is 2 by 2 by 2. So in order for it to be 1 meter, let's subtract it by, so S that thing, which is next to dots, and then 2. So subtract by 2, and this is 1 meter. I think we need to make this guy a bit bigger. So let's look at the reference. We can eyeball it. It doesn't need to be perfect, but you know, relatively close to what was set. So 100 centimeters is around the size of the head. So let's do it. Around the size of the head. So probably something like this. Now we should be good. Now the subsurface is gonna be barely visible anyways. But let's leave it be. Okay, now for the extra effects. Let's move it. And no. So in order to add some randomness to the color, I would like to add noise texture. And now make sure that you have the node wrangler enabled. And press Ctrl T. So what it does, it kind of creates, allows you to change kind of like scale and stuff of certain procedural textures. Now to this, let's add color ramp so we can control it better, and let's plug factor to factor, and then we want to mix these two things. So mix color here. Let's plug it in. Okay. So if I would like to see what the color ramp does, with Control Shift and left click to view this, just this node. It looks kind of weird. That's not what I want to do. So let's texture coordinate. Let's use object. And now I would like to increase the scale a bit, add some more detail. So maybe like 2, 3, add some roughness. Maybe some, okay, the scale is good. And now something like this should work. Okay, this is just a nice variation of color. Now let's Control Shift on the principal BSDF, and it looks pretty good. Why is it in color? Now I would like to add multiply. Okay, so now we can see there is some randomness. You can play around with it. Probably something like this. Yes, this is a nice variation. And now okay, before we actually continue, let's move it and let's create a group to kind of frame to make everything organized. So let's move it and put it inside of this frame. Now let's create that better ambient occlusion. So in the crevices, everything is gonna be darker. So let's geometry node, and it's gonna have different stuff in here, but you don't need to really care about this. This is an extra episode, so I'm not gonna really go too much in detail. Geometry, color ramp. And let's plug pointiness into factor. So pointiness is kind of, if you know Substance Painter, it's similar to, what's it called? The curvature map, yes. So this is gonna be useful. Let's grab... Okay, before we do that, let's Control Shift and click, and you don't see anything, probably. Or it looks very weird. So it does, basically the thing is it doesn't work with Eevee. So let's go to rendered. It might lag a bit, depending on your PC. That looks very weird. So let's turn this stuff off. And let's make sure that the background isn't gonna be distracting you. So let's go to render and to film. And let's turn on to transparent. And let's move the black dot around here. Okay, you can already see this. And let's move the white around here. And you can see nicely the curvature map right here. Okay, let's add a mix color right here. And instead of mix, let's select overlay. Let's pull it out and plug it into B. And pull this into surface. And you can see already a huge difference. Everything is looking way crispier and nicer, but the thing is it only works in cycles, so yeah. But still, you know, gives a lot. So let's go to, and that's everything that, excuse me, that we can create in the nodes setup. So let's create frame and let's move these two into frame. One more thing that I would like to create. So now if you look in here, the mouth is the same roughness as everything. And if you were to fix it, so Shift H to hide everything except this, we can basically create a new attribute. So we got color and let's add new, let's call it roughness. Let's change color to white because this is gonna be like the roughest color possible. So let's add. So don't worry, we didn't lose the color, it's right here if you click it. And now let's paint the mouth with a rather not white, but like a bit darker color. So let's just paint it. And you can add the diff, you can basically put in different attributes into different stuff, such as roughness, emission, and so on, so you can have fun with it. Let me turn on screen. Oh yeah, screencast is on. So yeah, we're going to do as much as we can. And here, I mean, it's not visible, the inside of the mouth right here, but it's just to show you that you can do different stuff with attributes. Okay, so we got that. Let's turn on the color as the visible one right here. Alt H to unhide. And let's go to shading. So let's create color attribute. And let's pull it into roughness. Let's select roughness. Okay, so now when you look, it is a bit wet inside. So yeah, there we go. There you go. So this is everything in terms of creating this dinosaur. But now let's present it. So let's add plane, scale it up a bit, and so when you place a camera, you're going to see background, but you can fake infinite background with a very simple trick. You grab this edge right here, extrude it up on the z-axis, and if you press Ctrl B, you're going to bevel, so create this extra face. If you scroll up, you're going to create more of this, and it's gonna be smooth. So let's do it. Left click, exit, edit mode, and smooth. Okay, so now let's Ctrl I to select everything except that selected item before. So let's move this guy. Let's rotate him just a bit. And now just move him around. You could scale this up. And now let's place a camera. In order to place camera, press camera to view, and shortcut to go to camera is on the numpad 0. So here what we want to do, definitely increase the focal length to like something 80 maybe. We can turn on depth of field as well, so we're gonna take care of it a bit later on, but so far this is it. And let's put camera in such way that it's kind of looking up from the bottom as much as possible. So I guess something like this could be nice. Okay, now deselect camera to view. Okay, just like that. So this is a nice composition already. And let's turn on rendered and see what happens. Okay, it's very dark, obviously. So let's change the color of the world. Let's make it a bit bluish. Just because. And let's add a light. We can go to solid or Eevee. So the material preview, let's put it up. And actually before we do that, so I had the camera, the lamp. I would like to create an empty and place it around the middle of the dinosaur. Yeah, something like this right here. So now we are going to add a constraint to this lamp, so that it's always going to follow this empty right here. So let's go to constraints and select track 2. Let's select the empty. And now if you move the camera, it's always going to follow, which is pretty nice. Okay, so the camera, we want it to be disk to make it look more natural. Let's make it big. So the general idea behind the lighting or render is pretty simple. We just want to get 3 lights. Okay, 3-point lights. So first one being the rim light, which shows the silhouette from the behind. So strong light, pretty big radius because you want it to be pretty soft. Then key light, which is going to be the key one, so the most important one. You wanted to make it rather small. And then the third one being the filler light, which decreases the strength of shadows if you want to. So yeah, basically the philosophy behind it looks like this, that they're going to be, the difference between them is going to be around 45 degrees. So now let's add the, not filler light, but rim light. So let's add it quite a bit of strength. Let's move it up. So we also, as you can see, it creates this cool gradient, which is very welcome in here especially. Maybe a bit bigger, more strength. Yep, I think that's pretty good. If not, we can always tweak it. Now let's add the key light. So it's going to be pretty small, definitely less of power. We can put it somewhere around here. Okay. Can be even closer, and then at the end it's gonna be the filler light, so it's gonna be pretty large as well. We can turn it down so very slightly for the shadows not to be this strong. Okay, let's see how does it look in the rendered view. Yeah, it might lag your PC a bit depending on your machine. Okay, it looks pretty good. And now it's super bright, so let's add material to this background. So click new. And let's increase the roughness and make it like slightly bluish. Maybe greenish, bluish. A bit darker, so maybe mint. Let's see how does it look. Okay, I think that's a bit too extreme. So let's decrease the saturation, or maybe decrease the saturation and make it a bit darker. Let's see, I think it should be better now. Yeah, that's actually way better. Let's see if they're around 45 degrees. Yes, you see they're around 45 degrees each light. Okay, so you know what? I think I would like to add another filler light because this part is very dark light right here. So we could add something, not too much power, pretty smooth. Okay, and as you can see, the image is quite blurry. It's because we have depth of field enabled. In order to make it work, we can create another, so duplicate the empty and put it around the eye area, because this is where most of the attention is going to go. It's always going to be eyes and the face. So let's just click on the camera and focus on object. Let it be the empty 001. And so that we don't need to go to the render view, we can enable depth of field in the viewport. Okay, so I think around 1.2 of the f-stop should work, but it depends. Also, before we hit render, let's select everything and let's select this body and shade smooth. It's going to make the model look better. Okay, so I think that's about it. So let's hit render and I will get back to you when it is done. Okay, so for me it has rendered just now. It looks something like this, and you could think, yeah, this is looking good, I can put it on my portfolio. And my answer is that you are wrong. We need to do some compositing. So go to the compositing tab, press use nodes, and you should see something like this. I don't like when this viewer is in the background, so select this dot and press X and get rid of the viewer. Now for the lower tab, instead of dope sheet, select image editor and browse image to be linked, select render results so we can see better. And it's black because we didn't plug image to image. Okay, so there are a few nodes that I would like to add. First one being denoise, which is going to get rid of that grainy stuff. So let's grab this. Another one being lens distortion, which is going to create that cool chromatic aberration effect. You will see it's very, very cool. It's my favorite thing. So I'm still surprised that this course is free. Damn. What am I doing? No, I'm just kidding. And bloom, which is gonna create a bit of emphasis on the lighter spots and highlights. And then lastly, color balance. Okay, so these are all of the nodes that I would like to use. So let's plug them. Everything except for denoise. The denoise requires quite a lot of computing power. So I'm gonna put in the lens distortion, glare, and color balance. Okay, so we don't see much of a change. It's okay. So first of all, let's turn on jitter, which gives that cool effect. And let's turn on the dispersion on 0.005 around this value. We don't see much, so we can slowly start increasing. Okay, yeah, this is very extreme. So let's 0.005, a bit lower. Okay, we don't want to distort too much. 0.002 works for me, but it might depend on your PC. Okay, so we got this. So bloom, we can change highlights, we can change the threshold. But it's looking very weird, so I think we can stay around 0.8. Yeah, that works. And then the color balance, so you can basically change colors a bit. I like to, in the lift, I like to put it a bit reddish and this gamma a bit bluish, which adds this cool dynamic. Okay, and this looks pretty damn good, honestly, I like it. So let's put in denoise. And actually let's put image here. Let's put denoising normal into normal and denoising albedo into albedo. And it's going to get a better job at denoising. All right, so here is the result. And it's almost the end. So as an extra part, you can go to a website, Pixlr. It's totally free. You have Pixlr Express, which let me show you. I'll edit my thumbnails and all the graphic stuff in here. But before we do that, keep in mind that you should save. So image, save as, and let's call it Chan render, whatever you want it to call. All right, and we're gonna do some more post-processing. So open image, Chan render. So let's open. And right here in the adjust, we can change some stuff. So vibrance, yeah, we can put it a bit up, saturation, a bit down maybe. Temperature, we can make it a bit cold. Tint now, don't move hue. Brightness, okay, so we can increase it just a little bit. Exposure, maybe, let's leave it as it is. Contrast, it's quite contrasty, so I wouldn't really, yeah, let's leave it as it is. Black, you could put it down. White, a bit up, or around the same. Highlights, yeah, we can bring it up. Shadows, a bit lower. Yes, I like to play with sharpen and clarity just a little bit. I know it's gonna look crispy, but I like this crispiness. Smooth, maybe just a little bit. Blur, no, definitely not blur. Grain, no. Bloom. Glamour. Maybe if you want, it's up to you. Vignette, dehaze. Yeah, but we could turn up the saturation to make it a bit more colorful. Yeah, so you can save it and call it. I think you have max of 3 downloads per day, so let's can render post. and let's save it, whatever. Okay, so thank you so much for taking the part in this course. I really spent a lot of time on it, so I hope you find it useful and just helps you out overall. As I said, I'm really surprised it's free. Like that stuff should be paid. So yeah, but the way to support me is to subscribe. If you got this far, you probably have subscribed. And see you in the next videos. Bye, see ya.